Getting an offer doesn't mean your home is sold. It means you made it to the next part. Now, the deal has to survive inspections, financing, appraisal contingencies, and everything else that happens before the closing. The good news, according to Redfin, only about 1 in 7 pending sales are falling through. So most deals are still getting to the closing table. I'm Ted Koczon with eXp Realty, and my job is to help the sellers look beyond the offer price and understand the strength of the entire deal. When one does fall apart, inspection issues are usually near the top of the list. The buyer gets under contract, brings in an inspector, and suddenly there's a roof problem, a foundation concern, plumbing issues, or something nobody else was expecting. Now the buyer wants a repair, a credit, or a price reduction. And now you're negotiating under pressure. That's why, depending on the house, I like the idea of considering a pre-listing inspection. Find out what you're dealing with before the buyer finds it. Then you could decide what makes sense to fix, disclose what needs to be disclosed, and build the rest into your pricing and marketing strategy. I'd much rather have that conversation before the house hits the market than when we're already under contract and the clock is ticking. Financing is another place where deals can get shaky. A buyer can have a good pre-approval and still run into trouble before the closing. They could change jobs, they could take on debt, they could finance a car, they could make a big purchase. Suddenly, the lender is looking at a different financial picture than the one they looked at in the beginning. And then there's the home sale contingency. If your buyer has to sell their house before they can buy yours, your deal is now tied to another deal, another buyer, another inspection, another appraiser, another lender. That doesn't mean it's a bad offer, but now your deal has another place where something can go wrong, which brings me to something sellers really need to understand. The highest offer isn't always the strongest offer. Price matters, absolutely. But I'm also looking at the buyer's financing, down payment, inspection terms, contingencies, closing timelines, and how many moving parts are attached to the deal. Sometimes a slightly lower offer on paper is actually the one I'd feel better about taking all the way to the closing table, because getting under contract isn't the finish line. Closing is. And the goal isn't to just get the biggest number somebody puts on a piece of paper. The goal is to choose the right buyer, the right terms, and the right strategy to actually get the deal done. If you're thinking about selling, this is the kind of conversation you want to have before the sign ever goes in the yard. And if you want a real strategy for your house before you list, let's have that conversation. I'm Ted Koczon with eXp Realty, where strategy turns vision into reality.